Hey everybody, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to share with you guys a few ideas that you guys can use to help refine and develop your sound. Without further ado, let's get started. Alright, for the first idea, we're going to talk about refining your harmony. And this starts with getting really specific about the types of chords, notes, scales, and intervals that you like and ultimately want to write with. In other words, the harmonic side of things. So the reason why we want to get specific with harmony is we can use this to create some kind of identity for ourselves and also forge more clear musical statements. Moreover, we can use specification to outline some clear goals regarding what we want to practice and strive for. For example, if we really relate to, say, a certain chord sound, or in a more general sense, a certain aesthetic, being able to pinpoint what exactly that is will make it more clear as to what we should actually be practicing. Getting more specific then, one area that I really recommend getting refined in is chords. For instance, for myself, one of the defining features of any musician is their chord vocabulary, as the chords tend to be the focal point in my listening. Meaning to me, what separates one musician apart from another is in a large part due to their chord choices. So when it comes to defining your own sound, I think it's really important to understand the types of chords that you like, as these will carry a huge weight in terms of the emotional character of your music, its color, its message, and ultimately what will draw one listener to your music rather than another. So for a personal example, a big part of my sound is the major 9 chord. The major 9 chord really speaks to me. And so if I want to inject more of this flavor into my playing, in a more sophisticated sense rather than just using the same voicing all the time, my practice needs to involve a conscious effort to seek out as many iterations of this sound as possible on the guitar, through things like different chord shapes and inversions. Moreover, this also involves finding chords that are aesthetically similar. And as I've done this, this has led to a massive refinement in my overall sound and the way my lines take shape. So for you guys, I recommend taking the exact same process. Find chords that you like and try to get the most out of them. Furthermore, once you've got that figured out, don't just stop there. You can also apply this same line of reasoning to scales and intervals. For example, I really like the open sound of fifths. So for me, part of my practice involves finding as many iterations of the fifth that I can find within my diatonic scale shapes. And with regard to scales, you can take the exact same approach. Just focus on the types of scales that you like the most. For this next category, this is pretty simple. You need to decide on a technique that's going to best fit the type of sound that you're going for. For example, do you want to play with a pick or do you want to be a fingerstyle player? Depending on your choice, your technique is ultimately going to lead you down a certain path and develop you into a certain kind of player with a certain kind of sound. So for me, I use a pick, and while I also incorporate a number of extended techniques into my playing, this pick ultimately both limits me and also gives me some advantages that I really like. For instance, using a pick gives me a harder attack, and it also gives me a little more precision with single note ideas. Conversely though, using a pick makes it harder to play polyphonic ideas and ideas involving a lot of string skips. On this matter then, think really hard about how you want to spend your time. What kind of technique do you want to develop, and is it ultimately worth the time to develop that technique? Moreover, another thing that's closely related to this is to refine your arranging abilities, or the way in which you organize ideas. What I mean by this is that it's important to have an understanding of how the kinds of lines that you write actually function, how they work, and how they're organized. So for myself, this could involve things like the shape of my lines, the way I use bass notes, and also the techniques that I use to bring my ideas about, such as legato technique, tapping, and other things like that. So for you guys, try to think about these things and try and dissect the arranging tendencies within your lines and also the type of lines that you want to write. Finally, I want to talk briefly about an idea that I call getting specific with listening. So for me, a big part in defining my own sound is to understand what to listen for in the type of music I like so that I can lift ideas and implement them into my own playing. So when you're listening to music, get really specific about the types of things that you like about it, such as harmony, rhythm, dynamics, arrangement. What is each instrument doing and how is that contributing to the overall picture? And also song structure. And when you've narrowed down a certain taste, I think it's important to then seek out and surround yourself with as much of that kind of music as possible. And this might even include music that comes from a genre that's not your primary choice. As long as it shares some kind of element that you've specified, I think it's fair game. So for myself, I'm listening to a lot of classical music these days that shares the type of harmony that I like, even though I'm not necessarily a classical guy. So dig deep into your music and surround yourself with stuff that you're trying to go for. And if you can do that, that should give you some fresh ideas on how to approach the kind of things that you've already narrowed down. Alright folks, so there you have it. If you like this video, then please make sure to like, share, and subscribe as I put out a new video every single week. And if you want to support the channel, then please consider checking out my Patreon page, where for as little as $1 a month, you guys will have access to some bonus content like guitar tabs, lesson notes, chord diagrams, and other little goodies like that. And honestly, the Patreon page really helps me out as it allows me to get some bonus equipment to make these videos even better. And finally, I also teach guitar lessons through Skype. There's a link to my email address in the description below. So thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye.